there's no harm in going to talk to somebody. If something hurts, or you're doing a new sport, or you're trying something new, there's no harm in going to see somebody and making sure that you're doing it correctly, because longevity is the name of the game. And if you're not moving correctly, I mean, you can be doing some serious damage to yourself. And so I'm a huge, supporter of going to see somebody sooner rather than later, especially if you're dealing with pain now, because no harm will come of this, I promise. Too long. Definitely too long. I was in and out of chiropractic care for like probably 2 years straight consecutively, going multiple times a week. And it would get better and I would be okay, and we'd push my appointments out to, once a month or whatever. And something would happen and I would have a flare up. And, I was in and out of the gym a lot at this time, powerlifting. And anytime I had a flare up, the whole cycle would start over, where I would be at the chiropractor, 4 times a week. So you can imagine how expensive that ends up being. So finally, after the 10th cycle of this happening, I was like, I gotta do something different. And my stepmother met with Brandon for her shoulder, and she was like, why don't you go see this PT? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot. No skin off my back, because I've done pretty much everything I can think of at this point. And I'm very glad that I did. Probably just thinking that PT is for something more acute. I didn't feel like I had an injury per se. So I thought if I did enough work with my powerlifting coach, enough, prehab and rehab movements, just in my training on my own, and my chiropractic work, I just thought I was doing enough to take care of it on my own. But eventually at a certain point, my flare-ups would get so bad that I literally could not bend over to get things out of like my sock drawer. So at that point, even though it was, it ebbed and flowed in terms of how bad the pain was, after dealing with it for so long, I was like, this is not normal. So I have to do something different, or I'm gonna be living with this for a long time. It like I said, it ebbed and flowed. So it just sort of depended on the week or month that I was in. Sometimes, on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be down at like a 2. And like I said, I maintained that between my chiropractic work and working with my powerlifting coaches. But when it was at its worst, like I said, it was to the point where I could not even bend over. So you can imagine how that impacted my training. It was not good. So, I would say at a certain point, like the pain was up to like an 8, to the point where it was like debilitating movements. And I think by the time I came to actually see Brandon, I think I was just like riding steady pretty consistently at like a 5-6. And that just sort of became my normal. I was just constantly living with back pain. And when it would get at its worst, it would really hinder my movements, even in just day-to-day life. Being able to sit at my office chair without being in excruciating pain. It was a lot of whatever I could do to stop my back from hurting and just never being able to be comfortable. That was the biggest thing. Again, it wasn't an acute injury, so it wasn't like I was, not able to live my life at all, but it just became a pain that I had to live with. And I just didn't, at a certain point, I was like, I don't need to live with this pain anymore. Well, so I tried some chiropractic work for a long time, and, I don't know if you guys want me to sit here and not chiropractic work. I think it has its place. I think that it helped me some. But my issue with the chiropractic care that I was using as treatment for this back pain was that it was kind of like a Band-Aid. We weren't dealing with the root of the issue, so we weren't dealing with movement patterns. We were just dealing with whether or not my bones were quote unquote in the right place. I don't know that I ever saw a physical therapist. I worked with a lot of massage therapists, did a lot of massage therapy. So I did know that he did dry needling, courtesy of my stepmother who came here first. And I frankly came in and I was excited about it. I was like, let's do this. This is the one rehab thing I have not tried. Let's do dry needling. And you're gonna cut this out, but it was awful. It was excruciating, but I immediately had relief. I mean, immediately, it was so much better. And then from there, you know, I knew that we would be dealing with movement patterns, and I knew that he would be looking at my powerlifting movements. But I didn't know that Brandon himself was going to be an athlete, so I feel like we really clicked in terms of his coaching me through how to move differently and more effectively. And so, you know, at the start of my treatment program, we were doing more dry needling, and towards the end, it was all focused on movement patterns. And I've been able to successfully carry those movement patterns through all of my own personal training, and I pretty much don't have any back pain at all anymore. Well, like I told my mom, you gotta come see this guy, and she did. She had knee replacement surgery. She was seeing another PT. You know, no knock to the other PT. The other PT was good, but I told her, I was like, you have to come see Brandon, because my mom, like, let's see, I'm 29. I can't tell you the last time I saw my mom do a squat or a lunge. I mean, my entire life, I just remember her saying her knees were so bad that lunging was just not something she was ever going to be capable of doing. I mean, back when I was 11, 12, 13, she was saying this. But after I worked with Brandon, I was like, Mom, you gotta go. You've got to go see Brandon. Just give it a shot. And towards the end of their treatment, she's shown me videos of her squatting and lunging and doing all the things, and I was like, yes, I told you. So I pitch for Brandon all the time. I feel like we clicked. I like Brandon. Like, he's a cool guy, and you know, the fact that he is also an athlete, I just feel like we were able to connect and on a lot of different things in terms of proper movement. I mean, we get to talking about coaches I've had in the past and different things I've been taught over the course of my powerlifting career, because I've been through several coaches. And Brandon is just really knowledgeable, and the fact that his coaching me through my different movement patterns has carried over to me not lifting in pain anymore. I mean, just it tells you what a wealth of knowledge he has. So yeah, I like Brandon. He's a cool guy. Do it. I mean, I just think PT is worth it, just to make sure you're moving correctly before there's a problem. I mean, I see so many people, you know, and I personally deal with a lot of, you know, my sort of realm is with lifting and, you know, in the gym and stuff. And I just see a lot of people moving incorrectly, and there's no harm in going to talk to somebody. If something hurts, or you're doing a new sport, or you're trying something new, there's no harm in going to see somebody and making sure that you're doing it correctly, because longevity is the name of the game. And if you're not moving correctly, I mean, you can be doing some serious damage to yourself. And so I'm a huge, you know, supporter of going to see somebody sooner rather than later, especially if you're dealing with pain now, because no harm will come of this, I promise. wanted to stop having back pain. And yes, we did. We did it. Go team.